Hello and welcome to This Is Metal Show. I'm Tom Collier and we got Jason J. Rock Houston. Tonight we have our great special guest, singer, songwriter, uh, actress, TV personality, radio personality, Cathy Rankin. How you doing, Cathy?
Hi, guys. This is Cathy Rankin, and you're watching the This Is Metal show. How are
All
you?
right. Great, great. So Cathy, let's get right into this. I want to talk about your single. What a great song. I got a chance to listen to it today. Now you're gone. Now you've gone. What a great song. Dave Ellefson. Love Dave. I've known Dave a long time, done many shows with him. Ken Mary on drums. You probably couldn't have picked a better drummer. And then John on guitar. How did you put that band together? And talk a little bit about the origins of the song, the writing of it. What a great tune. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Dave's a great guy, and I know you and I think both were with him at Metal Hall of Fame the first year I met you. Um, it was just this was a really crazy little kismet way that everything sort of happened. I had been writing poetry my whole life and was kind of during COVID decided to start turning some of my poems into songs. And you know, was I'm new. I'm not a proven songwriter, so I had no concept of if my writing was any good or whatever. And I had happened to get a call from Ken Mary. He's known John for years, John Bronson, who played guitar on the song, and we're in a band together. And he called and asked John if I would interview him for his new Fifth Angel album. And so we did the interview. We just clicked, got along great. Turns out we were both Rush fans. And I helped on the back end of things with some of the video stuff. And so Ken, being the gracious, great guy he is, he was like, man, if there's anything I can ever do to help you out for all the help you gave us, just let me know. And I thought, well, it's now or never. I'm gonna just this is a really great experienced musician, not only musician, but he's a producer, he's a composer, he does everything. So I sent him some of my writing and I just said, I would just love to get your opinion on if I should quit now or if, maybe you can give me some advice. That's all I was looking for. And he liked my writing and we got to talking. And being that we are both Rush fans, he's like, well, if I was going to produce one of these songs, which one would you want me to produce? And it was a no-brainer. I had a song I had written or a poem about Neil Peart when he passed away because Rush was such a big part of my growing up and such a big influence for me. And of course, we all love Neil. And so I had written this poem about losing Neil and just the collective feeling of loss that I knew so many people around the world were feeling that day. And so I said, well, Ken, you love Neil and you're doing like a drum thing in his honor, and I'm doing this poem in his honor. Why don't we do this song? So that's how it started.
And how did Dave Ellefson come into it?
So Ken has a studio here in Arizona, and so they know each other really well. He's called Dave in for doing parts on other music. And then John and I know David from just around town, and he's come to our gigs, and we've just sort of become. Oh, and he's come into John's shop. John has a guitar shop in Scottsdale, so Dave has brought guitars to him, and over the years, and so we had just seen him at Metal Hall of Fame, and Ken just thought, well, I said, why don't we get David to do the bass? We all were friends. And he's like, the funny part is he's like, man, I don't know if David can, do you think he can do that style of music, like Rush-like stuff? And we're thinking, well, man, we don't know. That's not really his style, but maybe he'll enjoy breaking out of the mold. And so we shot him over the song and he loved it. And he came in and he really blew us away with what he did. Because David normally plays with a pick. And he didn't. He was using his fingers and he was channeling his inner Getty, and he came up with some really cool stuff in that song. So
Excellent. Go ahead, Jason. I'm sure you got a question for
Okay,
Cathy.
well, I was interested, Cathy. Like you said, you started out pretty much writing poems, and you never really had much experience as a songwriter. So this particular song, I was curious. Once you get these other guys come on and lay their musical tracks on, your poem, which is now this great, beautiful song. What was that like? Somebody that's not a seasoned musician, you kind of trying this out and seeing how it turns out. To hear the final product, I mean, of what started out as a beautiful poem is what it is now.
That's a really great question. I haven't been asked that yet, and it's funny. It's like almost surreal when Ken offered to produce this song. It's almost like I just dove in and I couldn't really step back and think about what was happening, because if I did, I think I would be so stressed out thinking like I'm in over my head. I mean, we're all human, and we all, when we're pushing outside of our comfort zone, we have a lot of self-doubt and a lot of negative self-talk. And I'm a worry wart, I'm type A, and so I'm very much like that. I'm probably my own worst enemy, as many of us are. And so there were moments where like Ken would send me something that he had done for the song, and or we'd go back and forth on I would send him a vocal part. And there were times when the reality would hit me and I would get freaked out, like thinking, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. Like, why do I think I can do this with musicians of this level? But David and Ken were so gracious, and Ken is just so supportive and such an encouraging mentor. He never judged me. He never thinks any idea is stupid. He was open to everything. And I found that because he was respecting my instincts, I started to gain a lot more confidence. And I thought, you know what? This is something I wrote from my heart and soul. I just need to stop holding myself back, and I just need to open myself up to this process and just go for it, and just think, you know what? This is exactly where I should be. This is exactly what I should be doing. This was always my goal. Why hold myself back now? So I really think it's a lesson, and you have to take those chances. And when you feel that real fear and that panic, you have to push through that if you're going to grow.
Okay, Cathy, could you tell us, besides this great solo track with these great musicians, I understand you have some other musical projects. Could you talk a little bit to us about those? Some other bands?
Yeah, so John is a phenomenal guitarist, and Tom's met John, and he played guitar on that song, and he and I are in a couple of different cover bands together. So those are just cover bands, but they're very established. We've been doing it for 11 years, and I mean, we've played all over the country. We've played on the Vegas Strip. We opened on the main stage during Super Bowl Fan Fest. The band is called Superhero, and then we have a country rock cover band called Daisy Train. And so those chug along like a machine, and they're just, we've got it dialed in. It's fun. It pays the bills, let's put it that way. And then on the side, this original thing, I'm just taking it as far as I can take it. And the response to Now You've Gone was so great and so positive, and we got so much interest in media coverage that we're already working on the second song. So as long as Ken doesn't kick me out of the studio and say, okay, enough of your projects, I'll keep just sending him songs, and whichever ones he's interested in, wants to collaborate on, I'm in.
Take away, Tom.
Okay, so before we move on from the song, why don't we talk about where people can buy it, listen to it? I know you're signed to a record label. Why don't you go ahead and announce that stuff? But I think that's important that the listeners know exactly where they can get that.
Oh, thank you for asking. Deco Entertainment is a great indie record label that really supports legacy artists. So they've got Rick Emmett from Triumph, and they've got Jalusica's one of their newer artists, the band Angel, and Tiffany from the 80s. They've got some just really cool artists, like from heavy metal to country rock and soul. And they've been on board from the beginning and super supportive. So you can look up Deco Entertainment on my website, CathyRankin.com, and it's Cathy with a C. I have links to where you can buy the song, stream it. We've got merch. There's a t-shirt. There's a special photo we did kind of honoring Exit Stage Left from Rush. That's kind of a cool thing. So people have been ordering that. And then Spotify and all your streaming services, Apple Music, Amazon, you can stream it either from my site or you can just go directly to Spotify. And my Instagram is at Rush Fanatic. And I have a link tree in my bio so people can link to everything directly. And the video's on YouTube. So the official video is on YouTube under my channel, CathyRankin.
Perfect, great. So I know that we have a lot of passion about things that we don't do, me and you. So like with the
Yes.
veterans, I know you help them, but here's one that I really love. I see rescue animals. Every animal I've ever had has been a rescue animal. Are you fostering them? Or are you just getting rescue animals? Talk a little bit about that. If any organizations you're working with.
So I donate just individually. Like right now, I've been donating to the Pasadena Humane Society because of all the fires in California that affected a lot, they affected a lot of musicians, but they affected just so many people. And there were so many pets that were injured and abandoned or lost in those fires. So I've been donating personally to that shelter. I donate to shelters in my area. I have a particular one I love that saves like some of the worst case scenario pets that are harder to adopt. They're called Sky Sanctuary. I donate individually to veterans charities. Of course, Tom, you and I have a big passion for helping veterans causes, and I've done that for many, many years. There's a couple of great organizations I've worked with. Sheepdog, and I think their website is sheepdogia.org. They are a great organization that a lot of retired veterans volunteer there, and they go in after big fires or hurricanes or tornadoes, and they go into those areas. They deploy teams of EMTs, first responders, military to get supplies and food and, help save people if they need to. So they're a great organization. I love Tunnel to Towers. And then again, I have like local organizations that I've always donated to. So yeah, Tom, how did you get involved in the whole veteran thing?
Well, my brother was a Vietnam veteran. Hey, you're turning
Wow.
this around, interviewing me, but my brother was in the Vietnam veteran.
I always wanted to ask you because I knew we had that connection, but I didn't know what
My
your
father
first
was
connection
My
was.
father was a veteran. My brother told me when he came home from Vietnam, he was spit on and just, he said, I went over and fought for the country. I thought I was doing something right. He came home, he didn't know all the unrest was there. And when he was flying on the plane, they told him, take your uniform off before you get home. And he said, I'm not
Oh,
taking my uniform off. And he said they threw beer can. I mean, it was just horrible what they did to him. So that's when I wrote the song Show Me the Way Back Home, and I brought in Joe Lynn Turner. But here's a question for you, because you just turned this around. How does it feel to be interviewed? Because I know you're on the other end of this. You're always interviewing everybody. How do you like being interviewed? How does this feel to you?
it's weird to be interviewed when you're used to being the one who does the interviewing. I'm actually very shy, which people don't realize. And so it's one thing to interview other people and the focus is on them. And then it's another thing to be on camera or on stage. That's kind of like, I disassociate. That's almost like a character. But when I have to do interviews and answer questions, about me, I get really embarrassed. And I just, I walk away from every interview thinking, why did I say that? Well, that was dumb. I just like, again, I'm really bad with that self-talk, but trying to work on that. So, and actually, Tom, I have a poem I wrote a couple of years ago. It's veteran focused. It's about loss, so it's another heavy song. So I'm not going to come out with it just yet, but that is one I want to develop sometime down the road.
Nice, nice. So you are going to do another song, you think, with this group of guys?
Yes, we already we haven't told David yet. He knows it's coming, but he's such a trooper. But yes, Ken and John and I are already working on the second song. It's called Angel with a Broken Heart as of now. I don't think we'll change that title. And it's kind of going to be a little more sassy rocker, not this is sort of an empowerment song told from a female point of view, but it's for anybody who's been, misjudged, mislabeled, misunderstood. And
Excellent.
yeah,
Go
gonna
ahead,
be
Jason. I'm sure you got, I can't wait to hear it. Jason, go ahead. I'm sure you got another question here. Jason, can you hear me? Did we
Jason's.
lose you?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh yeah,
There
I
you
can
go.
hear you.
Sorry about that, guys. Anyways, Cathy, I got to tell you, what you're just saying about you're really shy doing interviews and you get nervous. I got to tell you, even just doing the interview with you today, you don't come across that. So you got to know, people, it's not really apparent. But anyways, a lot of people know you, of course, because of your involvement with the Hall of Fame. I was curious, talk about how you first got involved with that.
So that was funny too. Everything that I get involved with seems to happen like so randomly. I had done an interview with Jeff Tate, I think was the interview that they saw. Pat Gismaldo, who's the founder of the Metal Hall of Fame, who Tom knows. I think he was needing a host. It was during the pandemic, and because everything was so weird and basically everything was shut down still, but they were just opening back up, and Pat needed somebody to go to LA because Eddie Trunk couldn't fly out from Jersey. It was just logistically too difficult with things still being kind of weird. And so I'm in Arizona, and somebody said, "Hey, well, this girl, she's interviewed some heavy metal artists. You should take a look at her." And that's literally how they found me, from a YouTube video. And Pat got in touch with my agent. I'm with the Ford agency, and they contacted me and put us in touch directly. And he's a great guy. We got along, and I said, "Sure, I'll fly out." And so he sent me who the inductees were, but there was no script. So I had to write like 20 pages of transitions and script out what I was going to say. It was, luckily I've done that before. And, again, because he's on the East Coast. So, he was just scrambling, trying to get everything pulled together during the pandemic. So I flew out to LA. I shot in a theater with no audience, completely by myself. Um, and that's how I got involved. And then the second year we got to go back to an actual live audience, and I've been with them ever since. And we're just trying to grow it and see where it goes. And it's got a dedicated audience, but I think the vision is to go bigger. So
Yeah, and Cathy, now with your involvement with the Hall of Fame, you're kind of synonymous with Eddie Trunk. I mean, you guys you host it together. What's your chemistry like with him? What's it like working with him? The guy that's been doing it all these years.
that was one that made me nervous. The first time I had to do the show with him in person, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. And of course, we all look up to Eddie. He's been, like you said, doing this forever, and he's kind of legendary. Like, the guy has a memory you wouldn't believe. But when I met him, he's great. He's super low key. He comes in, he's relaxed. He's not stressed about the details. He just comes in. It's so natural for him. He does his thing. And he was very easy. I had done my homework, so I was well prepared, and I think he appreciated that. And so when he first showed up, I just took the bull by the horns, and I said, "Eddie, here's all the inductees. Here's the research I've done on them. You let me know what you want me to do and what part you want to do." And he was like, "Whatever you feel comfortable with." He was just super flexible and super easy to work with. And we did really well that first year. And so ever since then, it's been very easy with Eddie, because he knows what to expect from me. I know what to expect from him. And he's always just very easygoing about how we split things up. And we kind of just wing it, to be honest with you. It's the Metal Hall of Fame is it's such a dynamic event, because things are changing right up until the last minute. You're dealing with artists who Tom's laughing. You're dealing with a lot of different personalities. You're dealing with sometimes people's entourages, different bands competing for the sound at sound check, and touring schedules change. So it's just very chaotic and last minute almost every year, no matter how much we prepare. But that's kind of the fun of it because you do things on the fly and it always ends up being pulled together and we pull it off and everybody always gives a great performance and the fans always have a good time. So
Well, Tom, I can't believe it's almost been 30 minutes. Time to wrap it up. I'll let you do so, bud.
Yeah,
Take us
so
out.
just
that was so
yeah,
quick.
well, Kathy, one thing I want to ask you about just real quick. I know we are getting ready to end the show, but let's talk a little bit about your movie career. I see you did like 21 movies. I didn't know you did that many movies. Is that correct?
It is probably over 21 now. Yeah, a lot. I mean, very much independent films. But I've worked with some name actors and gosh, I started doing TV and film back in 2004. And my first big role was in the worldwide opening to Monday Night Football with Leslie Nielsen. And he's like a hero of mine. He's one of my favorite comedic actors. And so we did this huge opening promo, and it was a blast. And that was my entry into film and television because I just signed with my agency. And then from there, I just did a bunch of a lot of independent films and worked with some great actors. And I actually just auditioned for a film role. And got called back, but didn't end up getting it. But that's the name of the game, you know. But I still, I still take those calls and I still do some auditions here and there. But I'm pretty selective these days because I'm kind of primarily focused on music, but I do still do a lot of TV commercials, hosting corporate stuff. So again, if you're a musician, you have to have something that pays the bills.
Absolutely. Kathy, thank you so much for being on here. We'll have you back again sometime. What a great interview. Thank you. You have a great weekend, okay?
And Tom, love what you're doing with the show. Good luck to you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
Thanks, Cathy.
Thank you. Take care.